Can you play Dragonbane solo? How good are the rules? What is it like? How does it work? I don't know, but today that's what we're going to talk about, so let's break it down. Hi, hello everybody, my name is Turk and welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here we all different kinds of weird TTRPG things, but today that's right, we're talking about Dragonbane. Specifically, we're gonna flip into this awesome little starter set that someone amazingly in our community bought for me anonymously from my wish list. Thank you so much, whoever you were, thank you, I really do appreciate you. But we're gonna be going into this bad boy and we're going to be looking at the solo rules. There's a whole little booklet in there that we're gonna flip through and open up and see what these solo rules are like. We're going to talk about them, we're going to explain them, and we're going to talk about them together. That's right, which means if you have ideas and thoughts or anything about solo playing Dragonbane, have you ever before? I don't know. Let me know down in comments below. And I do plan on, if the wind rises perfectly in the world, I hope one day to do a solo campaign of Dragonbane myself. So keep an eye out for that. But for now, today, we're just going to be talking about the solo rules and if they're cool or not. And also, how does it work? But once again, thank you to Anonymous for buying this for me. And my friends, if you want to get this or anything else for yourself, make sure to use our links down in the description to help support the show. We have affiliate links to things, and also if you want to give me something to make me make a video on it, there's links down there to wishlist as well. Cool. To the top down camera. So here we are. The front of this book is real shiny. You can see my light. So we're gonna do some slanted viewing, but this is the box set. So let's go ahead and get it open and pull out the thing that we're here to read today. If you're also looking to check out the box set, it's pretty cool. Comes with some dice. You can love me some see-through green dice. Very good. We've got treasure cards, monster cards, silica gel. Nom, nom, nom. Very good. Everything else from Free League. I'm a big Free League fan. I've played almost all of these. Why is Morkborg on there? They're just that proud of it. What good lads. All right. Of course, we have our Dragonbane rules, and I love the art of old Darkwing Duck on the front here so much. It's really something. We have our rules and all the beautiful art in there. We have our adventures. Goodness, and everything is tightly packaged in this box. But here we are. This is the important one. Alone in Deepfall Breach. There's also a map and some other fun little trinkets in here. Some hex maps, some characters. Goodness, such cool art. It's very cool. And this duck character, if you guys didn't know, I'm like super happy with the art of this duck character. There's actually one of their other games, Mutant Year Zero. That's where I first seen this duck character. And we're actually developing a Morkborg supplement here at the Grouch Couch that actually has a duck-like race. So I'm excited to get into this and see what they did with their humanoid duck race in this book as well. Because ours is very cool. But ours isn't specifically a duck, it's an animal race, but it's a subspecies of said mutated animals. You could also be raccoon folk and stuff like that in our game. But anyways, we're here to talk about Dragonbane. Alone in Deepfall Breach. Also getting a good shot of this for possible thumbnail. This is what we're here to read. I'm messing with my light because I hate how shiny it is. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now it's a little dark in here, but you know, whatever. We're here to read the book. That's fine. So this is it. This is a little booklet. I'm excited to see what this has to offer. I am positive that this is just the campaign for soloing. I thought this was the solo rule booklet, but it's not. So I actually want to do one thing real quick. All right. I just wanted to skim through the rules real quick just to see if they mention anything about solo stuff in the actual rules, which they do not. So go ahead and put that back. All right. So Alone in Deepfall Breach. Legend tells of a wicked wound in the world struck by the demon lord Sathmog's spear. Deepfall Breach. The perilous depths of the breach plummet leagues into the foundations of Misty Vale, comprising rough-hewn passages, echoing caverns, and ancient ruins. Only a fool would venture alone into the realm of chaos and shadow, and yet here you stand. This is a solo adventure for Dragonbane, designed for play with a single-player character. No game master required. Undertake missions in Deepfall Breach, imagining the details of each scene, the actions of NPCs and monsters. When you must overcome danger, decide your approach and make a skill roll to see how you fare. If you're unsure what happens next, or want to leave it to the whims of fate, use the included tools and tables to provide the answer. Tables! That's what I'm talking about. I love me some good tables. I don't know how much I like tables. Very good. Here we go. So this is also cool for cooperative play. A couple of players can play it together without a GM, as it says there, but your solo player character. Alone, you will traverse the depths of twisting caverns and crumbling ruins of Deepfall Breach. Choose your kin, profession, attributes, and skills with this in mind. Also, consider your motivation for coming to this dreadful place. As an independent hero, you gain one additional heroic ability of your choice at the start of play. Thus, non-mage characters begin with 2 heroic abilities, and mages start with 1. Avoid any heroic abilities reliant on other player characters, focusing instead on ones that make your solo character more self-sufficient. If you are bringing an existing character into this adventure, swap any party-dependent heroic abilities for new heroic ability, 1 for 1. 2 new heroic abilities for solo characters are included to the right. These may be selected during character creation or when earning a heroic ability through play. So we have heroic ability Army of 1. It has no requirements and no willpower points, but when fighting alone, draw 2 initiative cards and keep both. You have 2 turns each round. Sick. We love that. Or heroic ability Soul Survivor. They cost 3 willpower points. When adventuring alone, you may push a roll without suffering a condition. So like you really want to get something done, do it. All right. That's our first page. So this here actually is only 12 pages if you count the back of a nice little booklet. This is very cool. Now that we're done with the first page, I want to tell you guys, this Dragonbane book looks so cool. And for a long time, I've had an issue with fantasy stuff, like medieval fantasy. We played D&D 5e for so long that I just kind of got burnt on it. And it wasn't until we started playing ICRPG that I actually kind of got a little bit back more into fantasy because the rules were so fresh. And we did a little bit more 5e and I just hated it after that. And then I started playing Legend of the Mist, and Legend of the Mist is such a contrast from D&D 5e. But now looking at Dragonbane, there's even one out there called Grimwild that looks really, really good, and I really want to get my hands on that. But Dragonbane looks like another Grimwild. It's so coolly arted, and I know this isn't a review of that, but if you're on the fence about Dragonbane Solo, I just want to say that stuff like this really kind of refreshes my mind in the world of fantasy. There was another one called Grit RPG that came out. That's from an indie developer, and it did a really good job. What I like about these fantasy things is that they get rid of the classic tropes of goblins and ogres and whatever, and they come up with cooler new kinds of magic and monsters, and it's like a fresh take on the classic fantasy medieval adventure, and I like that a lot. But it does look like here in Dragonbane, on the contrary, it is very similar, but they're like freshened up, if that makes sense, right? Like 5e is like a stale Coca-Cola, but this is like Coke Cherry, you know what I mean? I feel like that metaphor works a lot better than I realize. But anyways, harpies and manticores, so very cool. Minotaurs and orcs, classic stuff. I know we aren't going through the monsters today. This isn't a Dragonbane review. We're talking about solo stuff today. But just here at the top, I really kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, my thoughts on Dragonbane, because it looks very, very cool. And I'm currently going to be busy. I have other campaigns in mind. But once those are done, and maybe after I finish Courier, I kind of want to do a solo Dragonbane thing. So I'm going to refer back to this own video of the solo rules for myself. But I hope you really do enjoy this video. So let me know in comments below, and let me know what you think about fantasy role-playing games and Dragonbane in general. I would appreciate that down in the comments, because I love to have good conversations with you guys. This is about community and talking to each other about what works and what doesn't work and stuff like that. So moving on. So I already see that we're going to see some similar things to other solo games we've done before. So if you're a seasoned solo player, a lot of this is going to actually look pretty familiar. And I mean, Modiphius, they know what they're doing at this point. So they've probably seen all the successful things. They've seen what works and they've seen what doesn't. And so they're applying that here. So as we can see, we actually have a fortune chart. Scoot this over a bit so it's in the center. Thank you. We have a fortune chart. And I'll just read through it here a little bit. What cruel twists or unexpected boons await you in the breach? When you have a question about the nature of a situation, one you would normally ask a GM, use the fortune chart below to divine your answer. First, consider the framing of the question. The chart includes several categories. And then we have yes, no. We have our numbers, our scales, our powers, qualities, and reactions. So what happens to what? At any point, you can just ask these questions. And our chart's over here on the other page, but let's just continue moving forward. Ask your question and roll a d6. That's an interesting dice to roll. Mythic uses a D100. I've seen other systems that use a D20. Legend of the Mist uses 2D6. So very interesting. Ask your question and check the result using an appropriate column of the chart. Interpret the response and imagine what it revealed. Tilting the scale. The default fortune roll assumes all results are equally possible, but you can put your thumb on the scales of fate to better reflect the current situation. And hopefully that goes both ways, I hope. So if you get a no, negative, or low impact result is likely roll 2D6 and take the lowest result. If yes, yes, positive or high impact result is likely, roll 2d6 and take the highest. So we like that. That's pretty similar. So now we're up to 2d6. You can keep it simple to answer questions without consulting the table. Interpret a roll of 1 to 3 is no, negative or lower scope, and 4 to 6 is yes, positive or greater scope. A 1 or 6 indicates an extreme result or an interesting twist. In our TTRPG, we're developing, as I stated once before in this video, so I might as well do a little bit of follow-up. Of course, I'm going to be including solo rules, and my solo rules currently use a d6, and it's exactly that. This right, keep it simple. 1 is extreme no, and 6 is extreme yes. I like rolling dice and stuff, but on the fly, I found that rolling a d6 when doing solo is so quick. You don't have to, if you're doing a d100, you have 2 numbers, you got to figure out what is what, and then go, okay, so that's a 3, it's a 0, that's a 30, so what is a 30? But with this, you just roll and you just know. 3 is a no. 4 is a yes. 2 is a no. 1 is an extreme no, right? Very good. Keep it moving. Roll in the chart only when you wish to put the answer in the hands of fate. If the answer is almost certain or you prefer a result because it is interesting or dramatic, don't roll, just decide to move on. Very good. So here's our fortune chart. So not only do they have yes and no's on this fortune chart, but they also have numbers. So if you're like, how many enemies are here? You can roll a 4, and a 4 is several. That's very cool. That's very cool. Good job, Modiphius. And we have our scale. So how big is this building? That's a 2. It's a moderate building. Then we have power. Weak, minor, formidable, incredible. That's a 6. This would be an incredible enemy. So we have several enemies in a moderate scale that have incredible power. Their weapons of quality are fine, and their reaction to us as a 3 is wary. So they haven't even attacked us yet. We've just built out the scene with 4 dice rolls. That's pretty sick. All right? We like that a lot. Good solo tools. On a simple 12-page booklet, God, Modiphius blows me away every time I do something with one of their stuffs. It's wild. Okay, moving on. An inspiration table. Use the inspiration. Here we are right here, if you're following along. Use the inspiration table on the next page to reveal details when asking an open-ended question about a location or situation. Roll in a single column for an answer or roll on multiple columns to build a phrase. The resulting prompt might be taken literally or interpreted to fit context. If it is tough to decipher, roll again or pick an answer. And then we have some examples. What do I see in the chamber? Sacred and attribute are the 2 things we roll. An altar stands in the center of the room. A sacred altar. Right. Very good. And this is basically our descriptions table, action descriptions if you're used to Mythic. I think it's interpretive descriptors in Legend of the Mist, etc., etc. So this is the inspiration table when it comes to Dragonbane. And that's a cool name for that as well. Dragon and demon effects. Rolling a dragon or demon should add to your success or failure. Outside of combat, use the tables on the next page to inspire the effect. While in combat, use the dragon and demon effects as described in the rulebook, which we don't know a lot about just yet, because I haven't read a lot in the Dragonbane rules, but so things with the greatness. Another option for resolving the impact of a dragon or demon is to apply a boon or bane to a related following action, which, yeah, I think that's probably what I would do, boon or bane. That makes managing NPCs and monsters. When you aren't sure of the intent or actions of the other characters, ask a question using the fortune chart. For an open-ended question relating to a character's goal or nature, use the inspiration table. Yep, pretty self-explanatory. So, like, does he attack us? That's a 4. That's a yes. He does attack. Very good. So now we have our inspiration table, and it looks like this is a D20 inspiration table, and we have action attribute thing, and we have action attribute thing as well. So, and I'm using my blood splatter D20. I know this really isn't a Ghoul Couch video, but I am recording this in October, so these are the ones that I have. Anywho, so let's get an attribute for our several powerful monsters. That's a 16. Peaceful. They're peaceful, and maybe that's why they were weary, right? And what are they trying to do? We're all on action. That's a 9. They're trying to hunt. They're peaceful folks that are trying to hunt. But maybe we're there because they're so peaceful that they don't want to hunt. They need us to hunt for them. So we're actually here. We see these several powerful folks. Maybe they're part of some kind of sacred thing, and they need us to, they're going to give us a quest. You know what I mean? Things just build out with these single words. It's all about interpreting the inspiration. And then we have our dragon and our demon effects, which I don't know enough yet about, so we're not really going to go into that. But then we also have our NPCs and monsters in combat. So we have our simple NPC attributes. So this is just a regular minion, and you can see 10 attributes, 10 movement, HP of 10, etc., etc. Then we actually have our bosses. And these 2 stat blocks you might think are a minor thing, but do not underestimate these example stat blocks whenever you're playing something, because if we're going up against our several powerful peaceful guys, I would give them, they're powerful, they would all have boss attributes, and I would just have that there and I would just know. But if it's like 15 goblins, they'd all be minions, and I could just say, boom, they all have the minion stat. And you don't have to worry about finding the goblin and then going, okay, and then managing all those goblins. Whenever you're doing solo play, it's important to keep things flowy. Unless you're fighting something really fun and you want to use the exact stat blocks, then please, by all means, right? But if it's something minor and you're not even fighting them yet, it's just kind of something to keep in mind, right? Draw initiative, NPCs and monsters in combat. Draw initiative for your character and NPCs as normal. When fighting a monster, roll on the monster attack table. That's cool. For notable NPCs, decide their action or use the NPC attack table on page 4. To decide if an NPC uses an action to dodge or parry your attack, ask the fortune chart, or do what is most sensible. Mundane NPCs can simply make an attack on their turn, seldom using actions for defense. NPCs and monsters may flee or surrender if a fight turns against them. Ask the fortune chart when you feel like this is a possibility, which is basically morale in Morkborg. Very fun. Okay, and I seen recently, goodness, I couldn't remember what it was. I think it literally was Grimwild, but they had a D6 attack chart for every monster. And during my review of that, I was literally like, if you do not include an attack chart for your monsters in your game, what are you doing? Like, if a monster has 3 attacks, you should have them numbered 1, 2, 3, and then 4 could be like roll again, just at the bottom, right? So the game master, or even in solo play, can just roll to see what the monster does. They don't need to think about it. They just roll it, right? Because whenever I'm dungeon mastering, one of the hardest things I found was managing what all of my enemies were going to do. Like, okay, he'll do this, he'll do that, he'll do this. And then I actually find myself not using the enemies to their max potential because I'm trying to get through what everyone's trying to do and I'm trying to focus in. So just having an enemy attack roll chart is the best thing. So if you're developing something, just number the attacks so people can roll on them. Easy peasy. With that in mind, then you need to at least make 2 or 4 so you can number them. All right, so we can choose an NPC's role, like what they are. They melee attacker or a ranged attacker, and then we could just roll on their thing. So sneaky attacker, magic attacker, ranged attacker, or melee attacker, and we can actually just roll for them. We'll just do 2 here. We'll say this is 4 and this is 4. So we actually have the ranged attacker is going to hold and the melee attacker is taking a defensive stance. Pretty sick. Pretty sick. So the treasure deck, important. Use treasure cards to reveal the nature of valuables you discover. Some tables in this adventure instruct you to draw 1 or more treasure cards. You may also draw a treasure anytime you would reasonably gain something of value in your story. Note the details of drawn cards and shuffle them back into the deck. So you don't keep them, you just detail what they are and then you shuffle them again. Very good. And then I think actually, yeah, so that I don't want to spoil any of this because they might actually play it later, but there's one last page we have to read. Surviving solo play. Resolve failures. In solo play, you decide the consequences of a failure. Consider the situation and introduce an outcome which creates new complications or hardships but does not block the way forward. For example, you make a persuasion roll to gain the cooperation of the leader of an orc clan and fail. Persuasion. Did I say persuasion? My brain said perception. That was weird. Anyways, and you fail. The orc does not flatly refuse. Rather, they insist you must first face them in a duel to prove your mettle. So we all kind of know this as seasoned solo players, but whenever you roll a no, it should be a no but. So like, no, he doesn't agree, but if you fight him in a battle and you win, then he agreed. You know, like no but. Like you don't want to ever stop your story flat, so you want to continue that sentence. Never come to a flat sentence, right? Because in a yes, he'll say yes, we'll help you, and then you have his help and you can go and do the things, and you know, but also it could be yes and. No but and yes and. Those are very important, and most solo books include that. No but and yes and. This one's just suggesting it. So like think about it whenever you're doing this because it's important. Got it. If you're unsure, think of 2 possible outcomes and roll a d6 to decide which one occurs. 1 to 3 for the first, 4 to 6 for the second. Combat is a notable exception. Some attacks simply miss. This failure is momentary and the fight continues. But I like describing the failures though. I think is also still kind of fun. Like the arrow pings off your shoulder pad and goes into a tree. And then you like have this visual of there's just an extra arrow in the tree. So then if it comes back around to your turn and you need an arrow, you can say, I grabbed that one out of the tree. And then you've got like this whole thing. So sometimes it's fun to describe those failures, but they are kind of just like in combat, you fail, that's it, you know? Anyways, combat is tough for solo adventurers. Avoid combat through negotiation, guide, or subterfuge if possible. When forced into a fight, use special attacks and heroic abilities to your advantage. If you gain the upper hand through tactics or terrain, award your characters a boon. If all else fails and the fight turns against you, just run, flee, right? You can suffer damage and you can actually roll for it here. If you suffer harm in your adventure and aren't sure of the severity, choose or roll on the table below. So you can roll your 1d6 and then you have your category and your damage. Very good. And healing is the same, I think, as the stalwart solo adventure. You may make a healing roll to tend your own wounds during a short rest. You may attempt to rally spell yourself while at 0 HP. That's cool. You could also attempt to save your own life with a healing roll while at 0 HP. Very cool. And this is the Chapel and the Wolf, which is the adventure. But I'm just checking here because we do also have exploration tables, which are pretty neat. So yeah, into the breach, navigating waypoints, mission threats, gaining experience, taking a break, generating custom missions. That's cool. Set your objective for an objective signed by Ingulfer. So whoever you want, I guess, basically. We also have a threat roll chart, which is kind of cool. This is very neat. You gain experience. Yes, but I want to look at these. I'm a sucker for a good roll chart. So our exploration tables, we have location details, contents, environment, oddity, or danger. You roll a d4. Maybe we can d4. What do you have? D and 2d20. Right. So we're going into a location. We roll a d4. That is a 2. So it is our environment. So we can roll over here. d20. That's a 3. Our environment has clinging webs. So they are 7 extremely powerful but calm spiders that are weary of us. Cool. We have creatures or people. That's very sick. The inhabitants of locations. The complete areas as well. So I guess what is this area? You can just roll a d20 to say, we come up on something. What is it? That's a nat 20 sick. It's a yawning chasm. Very cool. We also have our scavenge table. Unexpected danger. Nothing of note. Supplies. Interesting item. 1 treasure card or 1 treasure card and roll again. This table is actually fucking sick. That's a very cool table. And the reforged shard, which looks like another little journey adventure. Very cool. But we also have another search table here. Oh, but this is like searching an area with a successful spot hidden. Search with. Oh, when you carefully inspect an area for hidden doors, concealed mechanisms, or secrets. That's what that is. Very cool. Dragon, success, failure, and demon. Very good. Then we also have our random traps table. So you can actually run into a trap by accident. And then, yeah, we have our whole solo adventure here, which seems super interesting. Even like skimming over this solo adventure. Is this a D6? Mission summaries. This is a captive orc. No unknown fools crossing. I really wonder how this works. If you want to see me do an actual play of this solo example of Dragonbane, let me know, because it seems really interesting and I'm wondering how it works, because it's not how I thought I would do it. Okay, my friends, these books are epic. They're very, very cool. We also have a whole book of adventures in here. My God. If me and the group ever go back to fantasy, this one's definitely on the table. Such cool art. It's so good. Who arted this? Graphic design by Nicholas Brandt, Christian Ganon, and Dan Algstrand. Lead illustrator was Johan Egerkrans. Sick, dude. Anton, and of course there's a bunch of folks on this because it's very good. Anton and Nicholas. That's the best way to spell Nicholas. Good job, guys. Our adventure and our treasure. I like a good cards. And then we also have these little guys for our minis. Very cool. All right, back to the up top. I think that they include everything that you would need to solo play this thing. Really. They have the yes-nos, they have a good little bit of descriptors, they have some fun little search tables. I think the solo rules for Dragonbane are a win. But I also think that Modiphius never seems to fail. They know what they're doing at this point in time. And I will, I think, always vouch for Modiphius. If I see something and it looks good, chances are, if it's Modiphius, it probably is. But right now I'm going to say, Dragonbane solo rules. Thumbs up from me. What do you think? Is it missing something? Have you done it before? Also, do you want to see me play it? Let me know in comments below. And once again, big thank you to the anonymous person who bought this for me off of my wish list. Thank you. Can't thank you enough. I honestly, when I got home, it was a surprise because I didn't order anything and it was just there. And I was like, what? I opened it up and I was so surprised. And the whole next day at work, it was such a bad day at work, but I just kept thinking about the fact that someone was kind enough to send me a Dragonbane book set. And I was just thinking about how much I really wanted to play with it and read it. And it really made my day so much better. So whoever did this, thank you again. I have a striking suspicion it was probably one of my close friends and they just don't want to admit it to me or something because there's just no way. I mean, there is kindness in this world, I guess. So thank you again. And let me know what you guys think. I really do appreciate you. For now, my friends, take a seat on the couch and roll initiative. At least for a little while. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.